welcome back to class, apparently. So, back to a different page of the modern day book written by me, Reverend Susan MeeLing. So now starting on page 54, chapter 3, in reference to the beginning of my Medal of Honor art project through the years of 2014, 2015, through 2016, 2017, and 2018. However, giving the examples of what I drove as well. So from 2014 to 2015, when I was driving in Washington State, that was interesting. I was driving a silver Honda Civic two-door. In 2015 and 2015, I was driving my, the Honda Civic was mine, the silver two-door. And then before I go on into much, I guess I should specify a few things. In 2015, when I was in, is it not Birmingham, Bellingham, I was at the cemetery there for the Medal of Honor recipient there. I think the last name I found was Davis. And while I was getting the rubbing completed for that particular Medal of Honor recipient, I heard a smash. And it was one of those, what was that? Yeah. Continued going on with my Medal of Honor art project and doing my stuff. Later on, when I was driving back from Bellingham down through on I-5, I had stopped a few places, one of them being in Everett to a playground that had a baseball field and stuff like that. In Everett, an individual had pointed out that the rear tail light was broken. Didn't know what he was talking about. So when I got to the playground, before going and looking at the spaceship, I had looked and there was a broken rear driver's taillight, driver's side taillight, or passenger side. I can't remember which. The car dealership that I got it fixed at would know. But got it checked out, got it fixed. I didn't think about if there were, at that time, law enforcement guys, because I was just doing my Medal of Honor art project and being respectful. At that, well, that's the whole time. But anyway, I guess you could equate that to a law enforcement going in when you're pulled over, right? And they tap on the driver's side to make sure there's nothing to worry about. I hope that it's understood and that I was only being respectful, because by that time I had spent hours cleaning up dog crap off of 6 Medal of Honor recipient markers. I had already dropped off the Medal of Honor artwork pieces to the VFW in Fife, but also other ones where I was essentially told that the Medal of Honor recipient that I found in Gardner, Washington, he was in the Air Force, and the quote that I had found that fit correctly was for Seabees, and the Seabees are in the Navy, and I understand. I understood even back then that it if any law enforcement was curious to see whether or not I was being respectful, they'd essentially see that. They, like, despite apparently what was wrong with the art pieces, that was not my fault. I didn't purposefully change anything and cause any harm where I went. For example, I'm in the state of Texas. The weather is ideal. But because I know that I had been harassed and stalked, because I don't want those problems occurring that happened in the other states, that's why I have stopped going and doing the Medal of Honor art project for the time being, because I don't want what happened in Montana State in 2016 to occur while I'm out doing my Medal of Honor art project. The traffic that was built up because of the red Hyundai that was in front of the rental car that I had gotten from, I think it was Enterprise. I didn't want that responsibility on my shoulders. I didn't know that anybody would do something like that, because why would I think anybody would cause any harm to my Medal of Honor art project? Realistically, what type of monster and horrid, putrid human being would that be to attempt to do something like that? And apparently they did. But I understand at that reference point in looking back now, as far as I comprehend why I would be followed because of my Medal of Honor art project. But in actions as well as words, the ideal way that I could think of to not be a problem, but to attempt to come up with some sort of answer or answers for those who, as I've found, there's no definition for domestic terrorism. So how, in my thoughts, how do I do the best I can to repair what damages were not my fault, but bring some sort of peaceful balance together? And so, in my thoughts, I could not continue completing the different artwork pieces that I had wanted to. I didn't want the printouts to be wrong of the commendation, because I'm dumb. I went from college algebra with trigonometry and calculus to second grade math. I mean, my tattoos, they started on my legs because I thought that it would be better and safer in the state of Texas, so that way nobody had to see them when I was walking around. But the irony is they were supposed to help me remember things. And unless I'm willing to walk around like this the whole time, and I can't do that. It doesn't take a head injury to figure that out. But in realizing that my Medal of Honor art project had been messed with, and knowing now from a news article I had read that the police, when you get pulled over, they tap on the rear driver's side taillight, and putting that together now and understanding that now. But even before then, it was one of those, I was not willing to continue with my Medal of Honor art project without that guarantee of safety for anywhere I went to, any location. And so, though I understand and comprehend that, as I call them, cherubim are afoot, and I don't have patience for that, I know I'm not the only one, but to ensure that who I call compassionate, honorable, and righteous ones don't think that I'm being disrespectful in my Medal of Honor art project, don't think that I'm doing anything wrong, and understanding that, yes, okay, I've been stalked, I've been harassed. Obviously, my children, unfortunately and wrongly, were treated horribly because of that. In that regard, I will and have not continued on with the Medal of Honor Art Project part. However, I did finish writing some more books. This one being one of them. There's a few others I put together, including the artwork in a book format of my Medal of Honor art project, as well as writing up the adventures of Susan MeeLing, scuba diver extraordinaire, in reference to my scuba dives, which another book series to read through after finishing this, among the other books I wrote. But in reference to, before I continue on in chapter 3 of the modern day book, and obviously I wrote books before that, meaning this one and the scuba diving books, I did not want anyone to think that I was being anything other than respectful to every Medal of Honor recipient, living, obviously, but obviously when in reference to my Medal of Honor art project, the deceased ones, in reference to any cemetery I went through to find them, any city, any state, and then all of the countries that are associated with. Everybody, as far as each Medal of Honor recipient, has a different background and where they came from, what war they fought in. And so to ensure it was understood that I wasn't being disrespectful in the beginning of my Medal of Honor art project, all the way even to this moment, I was not willing to create havoc. That's not my intent. So, and one last point, I will never forgive those who caused my children harm. As far as my biological family that claimed they moved from Illinois to the state of Texas supposedly to help me, and more importantly, as they said, to help my son and my daughter, which they never did. I will not forgive them, ever, for what was done. And that in turn also goes to, I will never forgive my ex-in-laws that assisted problems in reference to my son and my daughter, especially after what occurred at McCoy Elementary School in Carrollton, Texas. And what happened on that field trip that perpetuated what was already a problem for my daughter. I will never forgive those that I consider to be cherubim ones, and those in specific would be at the starting point those. I understand that that has kind of webbed outward, but there is no forgiveness for causing children harm. Period. I recently wrote a journal blog entry that says there is no honor among thieves. Another point I want to bring up before going into this is even in prison, they do not tolerate those who hurt children. So, this is not prison, obviously. However, there is no forgiveness from me that I could ever give to those who caused my children harm. And if there are those who think that they could convince me otherwise, I would challenge them to show me a reason why, but I've yet to be shown a reason why any cherubim one that I would consider as a cherubim could ever earn my forgiveness.
And they're still married to my dead ex-husband.
And they're possessed. Oh, they are so possessed. Oh, they are so possessed by so many demonic spirits, hence why they're called cherubim. But getting back to the more important stuff, other than cherubim, because they're not important, they're obviously not. Going in reference to my Medal of Honor art project, in Washington State from 2004, well, I drove in 2013 the silver Honda Civic as well, but in reference to my Medal of Honor art project, I drove in 2014 through to 2015 the two-door silver Honda Civic, and then later in the state of Montana and Oregon, I drove the Kia Soul. It was a 2016. I did get an oil change in Montana, so there's that. And then after that, I got rental cars, and so my credit card history would be able to give law enforcement all that information, no problem. So, page 54, in the year of 2014, after several issues that had arisen in my personal life over the years, through especially after waking up from the coma, from my Palm Sunday 2000 head injury with a subarachnoid hemorrhage in the frontal lobe of my left side of my brain with headaches, migraines, cognitive disorders, memory deficits, and having went from college algebra with calculus to second grade math, my son James and I had gone with my now ex-boyfriend Jesse Leroy Hoover Jr. to the Lakewood, Tacoma area of the state of Washington after going to different locations in the southern states below the Mason-Dixon line, and as Jesse Leroy Hoover suggested. When I was preparing for, as well as in the state of Colorado, for my Medal of Honor art project trip in 2017, he reminded me the Air Force Academy is in Colorado Springs and how he wanted to go there to be an Air Force officer, which he said he was. Granted, initially I had spoken with my son and the two of us had agreed to the state of Florida was preferable for he and I after the paperwork had been filed for a couple of months in reference to my daughter, his sister. However, when I went to my first country music concert after looking for one online to attend to through a Google search in March of 2013, the only country music concert I found through that online search after looking at several pages was only one at Cowboys Dancehall with Stoney LaRue playing, and that's actually kind of, look at the description of what happened at the Stoney LaRue concert did occur in reference to the different ones. Okay, well that's what I'm just going to be doing one page apparently because so the Stoney LaRue concert, first and foremost, after that being the only concert I could find through several Google page searches in the entire state of Texas, but even and especially including in the San Antonio region of Texas. I went to Cowboys Dancehall the night before the concert because I wanted to learn how to dance, because I kind of figured that country music had a different type of dancing. So I showed up for the dance lessons, and I learned how to two-step, or Texas two-step. There is a difference. I learned there's a difference between Texas two-step and two-step. And I learned how to do it in stiletto heels. Don't deny that. And not that I could. Anyway, so the other reason to go there early, the time before the concert, was that way I knew where the exits were. I'm a smoker. Well, I vape now, but I smoked regular cigarettes at that time, and a lot. So first and foremost, needed to know where that was. Secondly, I needed to know where the exits were, because memories that I had from concerts were from the East Coast. Even though I hadn't gone to any, I had remembered the news reports of like second floors collapsing on to the first floor, fires breaking out, that sort of thing. I was like, I need to know where every exit is, each possible place. And then, of course, as a female or as any human being, I needed to know where the restrooms were because I did not want to have that issue. So, the first, it was that night or the night of the concert, one or the other, this boy walks up to me and he has these huge M's on his hands, which means minor. And I was just like, oh, please don't. Please don't come over and talk with me. Please don't. And I had already been talking with the bouncers at that point. And I was like, no, you must be this many years old to ride this ride, and no. And so he walks over to me and he's all, what's up? And you're in a velour track jumpsuit with big old M's on your hands and frosted hair, like, just, no. And he tried, and it was like, take no for an answer. I'm not interested. I have a bunch of requirements that you do not fit in any way, shape, or form. So no. And so he got all butthurt, and, because I asked him, aren't you out past your curfew? And then he got upset because I asked it, and then, I asked and he didn't get the hint that I wasn't interested from that. Then he also didn't get the hint because, I didn't think it took a head injury to figure out. When asked, do your mommy and daddy know you're out past your curfew? I mean, I'm just looking like, you out past your curfew, little boy. Apparently, he thought that meant yes when it meant no. After saying no repeatedly. And so he continued going on, and I was just, no, like, go away, little boy, like, no, I am not interested in you at all. I'm not gonna be interested. You can't make me interested. Irony is the boy in N is in November 208 at the Lodge at Madrona apartment complex kind of looked like that little boy, and it was just like, I don't have patience for you at all. I don't want to speak with you. I don't want to get to know you. I don't want to, nothing, go away. Well, the bouncers, after I very much just devoured his soul right there, come over to me and they're like, we hate that kid. All he ever does is think that because his mommy and daddy have a credit card that they let him use, that he can do whatever he wants. And you would be surprised as to how many pieces of ass he got. And it's like, I don't care because he didn't get mine. So that's pretty much what that boils down to. I'm not interested. It's not going to happen. Go away. And so the following day or night was the Stoney LaRue concert. Oh no, that was the night because that's when I found out there was a second story to Cowboys Dancehall. And so the first night I had met a female who I spoke with, very nice, and she was there the next night. But the situation with the little boy, that happened the night of the Stoney LaRue concert, which also I would guesstimate the bouncer that I met at the door probably laughed his butt off later on because I ran in from the parking lot, and as I'm looking around and I see that my car is the only car in the parking lot because the website said it started at 7 p.m. I'm like, man, everybody in the state of Texas gets valet parking when they go to a concert? Okay, that's cool, whatever, to each their own. And so I run up because I'm afraid I'm going to be late to the Stoney LaRue concert. And the bouncer comes outside and he's like, he looks at me and I'm like, hey, what's going on? Now, mind you, I had a pair of jeans on that had rhinestones on them, but I had a white long sleeve t-shirt with a underbust pink with, I call them flutterbies, but butterfly corset, black trim on the lining, where the ribs for the cage of the corset stuff. And so he looks at me and he's like, oh, and my black leather trench coat. And stiletto heels. And So the bouncer looks at me and he's just like, "Can I help you? Are you lost?" And I was like, "No, I'm here for the Stoney LaRue concert. Am I late?" And the guy looks at me, he's like, "We just opened the door." And so I told him my thought as far as the valet, and he was like, "At a country concert?" And I was like, "I've never been to one before. The only concert I've ever been to was the Newsboys concert, and that was out in the woods." And so, like, even though I grew up in New Jersey, like, I didn't ever get to go to Madison Square Garden like I wanted to. I was like, I don't know what happens. I mean, I did get to go to Madison Square Garden, but that was to help clean up afterwards. It wasn't like going to a concert. And so, I didn't know. And so the bouncer looks at me, and he's much taller than me. He's just like, "You're here for the country concert?" And I was like, "Yeah, I am." Why are you looking at me funny? Because I'm wearing, I realize now, I'm wearing a black leather trench coat with rhinestone pants, jeans, and stiletto heels, and a white long sleeve t-shirt, V-neck, with a underbust corset with little flutterbys on it. I obviously forgot about this, and this part wasn't waxed yet. And so, why would you, and he just, "Oh, well, you just kind of don't look like somebody who would listen to country music." And so I explained my head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000, that whole thing. And he was like, "Oh my God." And I was like, "So I like country music. Is there a problem with that?" And he's like, "No, oh my God. And so can I see your ID?" So I gave him my ID, and he's like, "Oh, you really were in the military?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's my ID. Like, what's the big deal?" And he's just, "Oh my God." So yeah, you go in and you pay there, and so, okay. So went in and paid, and bought my ticket with the debit or credit card, whatever. And the bouncer's just looking at me from around the corner, and he's just kind of like, "Okay, whatever." And so then the situation with the little boy go away, and then is when I found out there was a second story. Apparently, around the mechanical bull is a staircase that goes upward. And I'm like, "Oh, I better go look." And they were like, "Why?" And I'm like, "Because I get lost easy. Like, I get lost so easy, and just so easy." Like, explain the head injury thing, and like the one bouncer's like, "So my name is Tiny," and I was like, I've known a few bouncers named Tiny, and they never once have I met a bouncer named Tiny that was ever tiny. But it's always, don't let that nickname fool you. Like, ever, don't let that nickname fool you. He's like, "Yeah, you're telling me." And I'm like, whatever. So I run upstairs real quick in stiletto heels and a corset. I'm walking around and I'm looking at the second floor, and apparently they have rodeos there. I had no idea. Found where that happened. I was like, "Oh, okay, well, there's that curtain. Okay." Well, then on the second floor, there was this area with these doors. I was like, "Well, I better go check what's going on," because I didn't know there was a second story. And so I'm going to go make sure I know where all the exits are. And so I go to the area that kind of looks like a saloon type setup, and I'm like, "Hey, okay, do. And go to open one door, and it didn't open. I'm like, "Well, obviously I don't need to know what's going on in that door."
And then a few other doors were like that, and I was like, "Okay, whatever."
Well, then I get to another door, and okay, so I've obviously said I had a head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000. I obviously have acknowledged the fact that I went from college algebra with trigonometry and calculus to second grade math, I very much have acknowledged the cognitive disorders and memory issues. So I opened the door, and there's this guy playing a guitar in a green room, and I'm just like, hey, what's going on? And I'm looking around, and he stops playing the guitar, and he goes, can I help you? I was like, yeah, no, you don't have to help me. Like, I'm just here, like, looking at, do you know what any other exits are? And he goes, what? And I said, oh, I'm just looking to make sure I know where all the exits are. I didn't even know there was a second story. And he goes, what? And he puts the guitar to the side, and he's like, can I help you? And he stayed seated the whole time. And I'm just like, yeah, I mean, unless you could tell me, like, where all this stuff is, because, like, I get lost real easily. And so I told him the head injury thing. I told him the concert thing. Told him about how I was here to see Stoney LaRue. And, this whole thing, first country concert, that whole thing. And he's like, hi. And I'm like, so, I'm here to see Stoney LaRue and, first country concert. And he... Hi. I didn't realize I spoke with Dori LaRue, and so I'll let you know how that went. And so when I told him about the concert issues of what I remembered from New Jersey from the news articles, he was like, oh my God, so could you tell me where the exits are? And I was like, yeah, so there's one here, 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 and here. And that's only on the second floor. On the first floor, there's one here, 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 and here. And he was just like, thanks. So, you're here to see the Stoney LaRue concert. And I'm like, yep. So, but I gotta go see if there's any other exits. I didn't laugh at that time. And I was just like, so, you have a good one. And I just shut the door and just and go out to the smoking section. Well, then, the concert started, and I was like, oh, I guess, let me... because it's loud in there. So I'm walking around, and I get close to the stage, and then the spotlight shines on me in the area, not like just on me, but like in the area where I am. It's like, oh, that is bright. Ooh, my head aches. Just, ooh. And the guy that had a guitar stops singing and stops playing the guitar, points in the direction that I'm standing, and he goes, so thank you to all the veterans and military guys in San Antonio. You are awesome. And I'm just like, oh, it's so bright. Out the door. Because it hurt. I wasn't trying to be rude, and I did not know that was Stoney LaRue until later in 2014 is when I realized that. That's how bad my head injury is. That's how dumb I am. And so, anyway, I go outside, and this group of individuals, they're just around me. And I'm on my phone, and I think I was on FetLife or whatever, and this guy walks up to me, and he goes, hey. Hello? Here, let me, because I have a phone here, so I can pretend with this phone. So I'm on the phone thing, and he comes over, and he's like, hey, hello? And she's like, well, what type of phone do you have there? A phone. And the guy gets closer to me, and I'm like, how many steps away from you do I have to fucking get to, like, not be near you? Like, seriously, take a fucking hint. Shit. And, you know, oh, well, you know, I'm not hitting on you. Okay. The irony of me not being a techie person and messing up technology as much as I do. And he goes, well, you know, I got a new phone. And I was like, good for you. And he's like, he goes, so, you know, I mean, I went from a flip phone to a Galaxy phone. Okay, I can understand why you're excited. I'm not a ninja. And he starts jumping up and down like this, and I'm like, okay, well, you know, I mean, going from a flip phone to a Galaxy phone, okay, I don't fully, but I understand, because flip phones are different than smartphones, so okay. Why are you still talking to me? Like, I'm not trying to be a dick, but why? And so he says, are you waiting for somebody who's not going to show up? I look at him and I'm like, no, I'm just on my phone. And so he continues to speak with me, and I'm like, why? Like, no. And he goes, oh, I'm not hitting on you. Could have fucking fooled me. And I'm retarded. Like, you literally have to tell me you're hitting on me. And I picked up on that. So, could fool me. And he goes and points to his wife. And she has a boot, like a knee brace boot that goes all the way down her foot. And she goes, are you fucking kidding me? Great. One of those situations. You're not hitting on me, and yet your wife is saying I'm sorry. Alright. Let me light another cigarette, because this is going to be interesting. I just really wanted to, like, calm down from what the fuck just happened inside, but okay. So,
He tells me his name is Kevin.
whatever. And he goes to, like, shake my hand, and it's like, I don't. That's nice. And then I said something, because he said something to me first, and I said something similar military-wise, where squared away, or whatever, something along those lines. And he goes, oh my God! What? What now? Why? And he goes, are you an army brat? No, I am not an army brat. I signed the dotted line myself. Nothing wrong with being an army brat, but I signed the dotted line. Thank you very much. And he was just, oh, 'cause like, I was in the army too. Fucking kidding me? Can I get a fucking break? Fucking great! Thanks for your service, ish. And then he calls over these two males away from the group of females that was with his wife, and I'm just like, ugh. is it too much to ask to have, like, a decent night after, like, what I've been dealing with? I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? Great. If I wanted to talk with people, I would have, like, talked with people on my own. Or I would have reached out, like, oh, fine. Little bratty, I admit. And so, and the people that I would have invited to the country concert, they live in Killeen, so, you know, or lived in Killeen at that time, and it's a far distance.
But, which probably would have been a lot safer, but anyway.
So, he goes and says, Kevin, he says, this is my friend, I don't remember his name, not being rude, and he says, he was in the Navy, and he has a beard, and, whatchamacallit, and he's from California. And I was like, oh, what's up, Squid? Thanks for your service. And he was just like, did you just call me a squid? And I was like, yes, I did. Navy, you're known as a squid, right? Yeah, but you're like a female. I am a female, I know. Tell me something I don't know. I was born this way. So, you know, well, you know, yeah. I mean, not, but yeah, I'm born as a female. What? And he was just like, just, oh my God, you just, okay. And then, you know, he points to who's now my ex-boyfriend, Jesse Leroy Hoover Jr. He goes, this is Jesse. And he was in the Air Force as an officer. And I'm like, what's up, Zoomy? And he kind of, and the two of the Navy guy and then Kevin go, what's a Zoomy? And Jesse and I wound up saying, apparently before your time. I thought that was still a thing. But, you know, whatever. And so, and nothing like offensive towards the Air Force guys, just saying, you guys fly in airplanes and you go zoom. Like, anyway, so then Kevin goes, I was in the Army too, like you. Yay! Come in. And he goes, I'm from Louisiana. Where are you from? And I said, I was born and raised in New, and when I said New, both the squid and the zoomy go in different directions. And then when I said jur, the two took a few more steps backwards in opposite directions. And then when I said Z, the squid had his back against the metal chain link fence, and the zoomy had his back against the brick wall. Now apparently Kevin, the dumbass that he was, and probably still is, he steps forward and he's like, I've never met anybody from New Jersey before. Really? Because I've never met a white Cajun, because he said he was a Cajun from Louisiana. And he was like, oh, ha, ha, that's funny. No, I've been to Louisiana. I've never met a white Cajun. I've met an albino Cajun, which there is a difference. But you don't even speak like you're from Louisiana. You, like, where in Louisiana are you from? And he goes, New Orleans, duh. I've never seen a white Cajun from New Orleans. Seen albino Cajuns. Not a white Cajun. Look back at his wife and the females, and they're all hee. And it's like, I hate females like you. Hate females like you. There's no female like you that I like. Hate females like you. Ugh. And so, Kevin won't leave me alone. being polite because he has a wife, and being a part of the LGBTQP as well as the BDSM and the swinger communities. It's one of those, I hate females like you. Hate females like you. And so finally Kevin gets the hint, I don't want to speak with him. So they scurry off, go inside. A few more times they come back out. And it's like, why? Every time they just around me. And it's like, why are you here? Why are you talking to me? And like, I think I've given, like, no. Well, then Stoney LaRue apparently took an intermission, and there was what I call booty music on. And Kevin was just like, why haven't you gone to go dance in the country? Because you do like two steps and Texas two steps, and I don't do line dancing. I know myself. Line dancing would look like dominoes if I go line dancing, and I don't have to have alcohol to do that. Like, at all. I could just, like, no line dancing. Cool. Since then, I tried to, nope. Nope. And so, I even tried taking lessons at the Toby Keith place in Arizona. That did not go well. Not at all. So, the, that's getting warm. And you have to, like, dance with somebody else to two-step or Texas two-step, and I'm not going to ask somebody. Like, no. Not going to ask somebody to dance. Not in a country music concert. Not looking like this. No. Don't care, that's an icebreaker. This is new to me, so not gonna do that. And so, because of the booty music, he's like, well, let's go and, will you, and I asked him, will you leave me alone if I go inside and dance with you in your group? And he says, yes, I promise to leave you alone. I'll keep you to that. So, go inside, and I did not dance the way I know how to. I did the whitest of white boy dance. I literally went like this. I know how to dance. Very much so. But I was not going to do that in that. No, not going to do it. I could very much go, and nope, not going to do it. Not going to do it, don't care. Song ends, I run outside. Smoking section, don't want to have anything to do with
that. Well,
at the top of the ramp, Kevin comes outside with the group, and he goes, yo! Why can I not just have... Why? What? And so he comes down the ramp, and the female that I met the night before, she and I are talking, and she's like, do you know him? And I'm like, no, I don't. But he won't leave me alone. And, you know, the group of them come down the stairs, and he goes, why won't you dance? And why this? And why that? And it's like, alone. Well, then he made a fatal mistake. Not that there weren't a bunch before that. But he made one where his wife told him, when she is done devouring your soul, you are going to bring me a beer in each hand and you're going to present it on your knees. And I was like, about fucking time I get. She looks at me and she goes, you go do what you gotta do. Green light, and fucking walks up or hobbles up the ramp with the foot boot thing. And I'm like, all right, because what he said, what Kevin, the little white boy, he's from Louisiana, said was, I bet that corset is holding your fat rolls in. Anybody who has known me in the lifestyle knows how I am about my corsets. More importantly, in certain regards, you don't ever call a female fat. So as his wife hobbles up the stairs, I start taking off my leather jacket, and I looked like, hold this please. And she just, oh my gosh, she go, oh. And as Kevin's running his mouth, I am unlacing my underbust corset. And I'm like, keep running your mouth. Keep it up. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. And so he continues running his little mouth and pop, 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 pop. What? 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 Not the most ladylike thing to do. I understand that. But you could probably see that New Jersey-ness coming out right there, because I don't wear earrings, but if that was the equivalent of, let me rip off my fingernails, I'm going, And so, there's probably a security camera that caught that. So, you know, what? You call that what? What? Bouncers at this time are all, so we need to get the police here now. Like, code red, code red, code red. Literally code red. And so I start going at Kevin. I'm just like, and so, you know, this, that, da-da-da-da, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and by the way, on the dance floor, you want to talk about how I can't dance? At least I wasn't on the floor with a group of people surrounding me, humping my head the way your wife was. I know who wears a strap-on in your family, bitch. And you even had a big old Bubba freaking lifting one leg, looking like he was peeing on you while he was humping your head. And Kevin just went, oh. So it's like that. Yeah, it's like that. And I just devoured your soul. And so I take my corset from the female, start putting it on as I'm continuing to rip him a new one, and just, and da-da-da-da, and you want to talk what about what? Anyway, so put my leather jacket back on, and here come police officers from the San Antonio Police Department. It's like, as I'm ripping into this guy, I'm like, hey, thank you for your service. And one of the police officers goes over to the squid, who is leaning against the metal part of the fence, and they're like, so what's going on here? He started it, but she's from New Jersey. And so, you know, we're going to... And, you know, and so, as the police officers that were originally going around Kevin, two of them break off and start going around from the back where there were already three coming up behind me. And I'm just like, okay, well, he... Putting my corset back on? Just saying. And then Kevin goes and yells out, oh, look, it's the popo. Look, it's the bacon. And I was like, you do realize they're here to save you, right, boy? And just, how dare you talk to the police like that? Who do you think you are? Da, 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 da. And at that point, the police officers that were coming up behind Kevin, they just kind of like spread out. And I was just, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, how dare you talk to the police like that? I don't know who you think you're talking to. I don't know what you think. You think I'm not going to step to you about talking shit about the police officers? I will hit you, boy, like you don't even know. And at that point, the police officers were over talking with the bouncers. Hi, Watson. I couldn't not do it. I knew you were going to be on the police force. I couldn't, like, not that but anyway, just boom. Kevin then just, you know, it's like, that's right, bitch, walk upstairs. Go. So then the Navy guy, like, goes after Kevin, and who's now my ex-boyfriend, Jesse, says, you know, thank you. Me? And he's like, yeah, thank you. For what? He goes, 'cause that guy is such an asshole. Like, he goes to clubs. I wasn't actually going to come out tonight, but he goes to clubs, purposefully singles out females that don't have anyone with them. His wife stands there watching and doesn't do anything to help the females. And he goes after them, and you are the first person who, like, devoured his soul. Like, in front of everybody. You just completely devoured Kevin's soul. I was like, yeah, I do that every now and then. It is what it is. And so... you know, it is what it is. And so, you know, I originally was like, well, I can try a one-night stand. That didn't work out, obviously, at all.
I'm just not that type of person.
Excuse me. Sorry, I can't do one-night stands. The whole relationship shit and stuff. So anyway, a few weeks of dating Jesse goes by. And he tells me, I can't hold this back from you anymore. And I'm like, what? And he goes, oh, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. And I was like, what are you holding back from me? I don't like being lied to. I don't like things being held back from me, so what? And he goes, well, you know that guy, Kevin? I'm like, oh, yeah. What about him? And he goes, well, Kevin has told the whole class at the airplane mechanics school about, like, him putting you in your place. I was like, oh, well, what now? What? And she was like, hey, I didn't do it. And I'm like, what did you say? And Jesse said, well, I didn't say anything. What about the squid? Did the squid say something? Well, he tried to say something, but then, like, Kevin made fun of him. I was like, he made fun of the squid? What do you mean he made fun of the squid? Oh, no, he didn't make fun of the squid. And he's just like, oh my God, no. So, like, we're going to go to a barbecue place, and, like, it would be, like, funny if you showed up and, like, clarified stuff because, oh my God, I didn't do it. And I was like, yeah, let me know. Let me know. I will go to the barbecue place. I will fry that bitch. Especially after coming after me and not leaving me alone. And then having the audacity to try to say that he put me in my place when his wife wasn't woman enough, adult enough to frickin' be like, no, don't do that because you're a piece of shit, Kevin. Like, seriously, as much as she was humping his head on the dance floor, you would have thought that she had a pair. And I don't just mean a pair of ovaries. And so... so, I show up to the barbecue place, texting and shit like that in the car, and Jesse runs out to the car. He's like, hey. Go get him. I'm like, where's he at? So I get out of the car. I'm just like, all right. Oh, you're sitting over there? All right, all right. So let me give us a visual example. So this is a little table. Kevin's right here. This part of the picnic table, irony of a discussion I had earlier today, this part is empty. There's like a couple of people sitting on this side of the bench of the picnic table. I walk around, I sit down right here. Kevin scoots all the way to the wall. And the guy that was in this area, he goes, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm here to handle stuff." And he's like, "Oh, okay." I was just asking. I'll let you know who I am. Okay. Big girl. Oh, okay. My bad. Don't devour my soul. And so Kevin has his back against the wall, like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, so I heard you, and I scoot closer. I'm just like, so, I heard you had something to say about me. I heard that you were talking about me. What were you talking about? And Kevin, I just, was telling, and he's just, I was just telling people that, as he's leaning against the wall, I put you in your place. And so the guy that's on the other side of the table, he's just like, this is, and he points to me, he goes, that's who you told. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. So how'd you put me in my place, Kevin? How'd you do that? And he, well, I told you that, and he's not looking at me at all. I told you that, wow, there's a ceiling right there. I told you stuff. See, what I remember, Kevin, and I scoot just a little bit closer, like his hip and my hip are like one, like, so, from what I remember, you, Kevin, were not leaving me alone throughout the whole event. From the time you wouldn't leave me alone about the phone. And then I go down the list, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So, after I told you that I know who wears the strap-on in your household, and the guy across the table just... Oh my gosh, she said what? And I look at him, he's like, I was listening. And go on and on and on. And I'm just like, yeah, Bubba was humping your head and this, that, and the other. And you said, what about the squid? And when I went like this, Kevin goes... And I was just like, yeah. So realistically, after your wife gave me permission to devour your soul, not that I needed the permission to devour your soul, but I was respecting your marriage to, like, not chew you a new one. But then, she was like, hey, go ahead. And it's like, all right then, no problem. Soul complete. Done. And so... he obviously did not put me in my place, not forgetting the reality. How many people have cell phones? I mean, I couldn't be the only person who had a cell phone that night at a Stoney LaRue concert, or concert period. And then I probably would guesstimate that the San Antonio police officers, though they got there after I started taking off my corset, probably a security camera at a dance club. I mean, I don't think it takes a head injury to figure that out, but okay, whatever. And so, if Kevin, wanted to, you know, run his mouth some more, or he got butthurt because I wrote what I did, and or there were people who did the little, what are they called, GIFs or whatever, something, of like him getting his soul devoured. Not forgetting like any of the bouncers who could have had either body cams and or cell phones. I mean, like, the list of possibilities is endless as to the amount of people who could have been recording that and making fun of Kevin because he came at a female and called me fat. Told me that my corset was holding back my fat rolls. You don't ever call a female fat. I don't care who you are. I mean, okay, realistically, in the modeling industry and then the acting industry, there are nicer ways to say that, so I'm going to guesstimate they don't call people fat. But I'm just saying, like, who the hell do you think you are, Kevin? And then what type of female are you married to that would, like, allow you to speak like that to other people? And how were you raised? Because that is some bullshit. Flat out. And so even though I was gonna read, I technically did, but gave an abridged version. And so, yeah, I did not appreciate that.
Apparently, my neighbors are having some issues.
And so, and if his wife was upset, first off, she said I could. Don't give me permission. And just be like, go ahead. Not give me any limitations, because there are people who learn the hard way. Apparently including them. And so, you know, I just was clarifying that story. And if he went back to her after I, like, ripped him to shreds, and she made fun of me because I told her that I put a place, and at the school they started making fun of me because, well, you know what, fucking Kevin, you shouldn't have been a little bitch. And you shouldn't have picked on a female who was at a club by herself. Not just me, any female. If a female wants to go out and just have fun, hey, here's a frickin' idea. How about you let the female have fun because she doesn't need your permission to have fun without a male or someone else with her specifically. I didn't think it took a head injury to figure out that in this era, females can actually go to clubs by themselves. I didn't know it took a head injury to figure out that it is allowed under the constitutional rights of the United States of America, various bills and amendments. And actually, there was an amendment for females to have that right. So in this era, if I want to go somewhere and I don't have someone with me, that is because I choose to go somewhere and don't have someone with me. I don't deny that I would prefer to be in a relationship, but I also won't settle for some punk little bitch like you, Kevin. And if I choose to go out, it's my right. Now, during the coronavirus, apparently not, but if I want to go to a club, or any female or any male wants to go to a club, they don't need to be pestered by people like you, Kevin. And if you got made fun of and didn't realize that there were people who have the ability to use techie stuff to record that stuff, well, why were you a douchebag?
And if Kevin and or his wife and or that group of individuals thought it'd be a good idea to mess with my Medal of Honor art project after everything else,
Well, I already emptied that frickin' vessel, so, you know, he is frickin' possessed if that's one of the people that had something to do with messing with my Medal of Honor art project. That was not a compassionate, honorable, righteous one, because I understand why I wasn't allowed to find certain things afterwards. So, and no, I don't care. Frickin' bitch ass female freaking wanting to allow her like not like, and it is in that regard allowing her husband to be like that, because she doesn't have to be married to him. She could file for a divorce knowing what type of male that is. It's not so much a thing of a BDSM of that sort of thing. It's more along the lines of have some freaking human decency. What type of female wants to be married to a male that you watch purposefully do that to multiple females over and over and over again? A disgusting bitch is what that is. My opinion. So, yeah, that's that. You have a good one.